Okay, we're going to do the examples at the top of your naming covalent compounds practice assignment. The first thing to note is that we name covalent compounds different than how we name ionic compounds. We're going to name each of the elements, but we're going to add prefixes before the names of the elements to tell us how many we have of each element. So we'll do the first element listed in the compound with a prefix saying how many, and the second element in the compound with a prefix saying how many, and then to the end of the second element, we're still changing it to "ide." Now, there is one exception to this, and that's actually in our first example. So our first example is CCl4. C is carbon. If there's no number, that means we only have one. Cl is chlorine, and we have 4. So to name this compound, if we only have one, normally we would use mono, but we don't use mono when it's only one of the first element. So we're just going to say carbon. 4 is tetra, and then chlorine becomes chloride. So the first one is carbon tetrachloride. Again, we don't use mono if there's only one of the first element. That's your exception to this. All the other times we're going to use prefixes. So the next one, N3O, N is nitrogen, and we have 3 of them. O is oxygen, and we only have 1. Again, if there's no subscript, that means that there's 1. So 3 would be tri-nitrogen. And if there's 1, it becomes mono. And because oxygen begins with an O, we just say mono and then Xide, monoxide. Trinitrogen monoxide. So because the second element, there was only 1, we do use mono. And we use a prefix on the first element as long as there is more than 1. All right, the next one, we have Cl2O7. Cl is chlorine, and we have 2. O is oxygen, and we have 7. So it becomes dichlorine hepta, but because it's O at the beginning, it becomes heptoxide. So we just drop that A. If you get like a red squiggly line because the spelling's a little bit off, click on it and see what it suggests, and it's probably the right thing. All right, the next one, PCl3. So P is phosphorus, and I have 1. Cl is chlorine, and I have 3. So it becomes phosphorus trichloride. Again, if you only have 1 of the first element, it doesn't get mono. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the name of the compound and come up with the formula. This is, again, different than ionic compounds because if you remember, on ionic compounds, we crisscrossed our charges. We are not crisscrossing charges here. Covalent compounds are easier to come up with formulas for that reason. We don't have to crisscross anything. That number stays with that element. So let's go ahead and do it. Again, remember, if there's no prefix on the first element, that means I only have 1. So nitrogen is N, and I only have 1. Monooxide, that tells me it's oxygen. Mono tells me I have 1. So what's the formula? Capital N, capital O. Remember, when you name a formula, chemical symbols, the first letter is always capitalized. If there's a second letter, it's lowercase. This is really important that you do your capitalization correctly. You don't put a space between them when you write a formula. And you don't have to write ones. Because I don't have a number next to it, I assume that there's only 1 of each. All right, the next one, tetraphosphorus decoxide. Tetra is 4, so I have 4 phosphorus. So P4. Decoxide, deca is 10, oxide is oxygen. So to write this formula, it becomes P4. Oh, what did I do? P4O10. Now, if you don't know how to make your subscripts, I'm going to be okay if you just write P4O10. That's fine right now. I know that you know what you're doing. It's fine. Either one I will accept for an answer. All right, the next one, disulfur. So I have 2 sulfurs. Dichloride. I have 2 chlorines. So S2Cl2. 2. And I'm not going to reduce like I would do in an ionic compound. I keep both of the 2s. All right, my very last one is carbon dioxide. No prefix on carbon, so I only have 1. And then dioxide means I have 2 oxygens, so my formula is going to be CO2. So that's how you name covalent compounds and how you come up with formulas for covalent compounds. If you have questions, please message me. You're going to do great. I'll see you guys later. Bye.